Welcome. Hope everyone is well. This is going to be a test for what is to come. So let's see how it goes. Everything that is shared or broadcast here is going to form part of what will be from tomorrow onwards. Yeah, it's pretty much going to be me testing the waters. And I've kind of put a poll up on the WhatsApp channel if you are a part of that, just to see the response, and the initial response was positive. So yeah, it's going to be a learning curve. Very much a test today and very much a test always. And we'll just take it from there. I think the first thing I want to address is a lot of you who are subscribed or have been subscribed since the very beginning, 2021 of this channel. It's a lot of you that have been interacting with me since 2003, 2004, thereabout. Some of us met at the track as competitors in 2007, 8. Some of us met at the track as attendees of the now well-known Street to Strip. That started about, call it 16 years ago, on the 29th of August 2008, if memory serves. I think that was one of the worst. And I think we're going to be together for a long while after. So what it is I need is for everyone who's been subscribed to this platform, if they choose, of course, to register and, for lack of a better word, get your VIP code out of the way. Get us to allocate one, assign it to your subscriber handle, subscribership, and essentially from there it should provide a springboard and a platform for many good things to come. I mean, there's about 9 phases of this project, and one of it includes to reward the people who made this channel what it is. It's obviously to engage all stakeholders, particularly athletes, and that was something that I can't lay claim to. That's something that I heard in a concept at Desi Raceway in 2022, and it's something that I liked to the point that I got on board with drag nationals and engaging a lot closer with these tracks that were part of it. Desi, Midval, Aldo, Kilani. And I mean, those of you that know me for a while know I've got a very tumultuous relationship with Kilani. I've known some of the guys who work there for 20 years plus. I did an odd marshalling stint just to understand their perspective and the sort of troubles and troubleshooting and issues and interaction concerns they have, dealing with unruly spectators or unruly racers. And to this day I see the frustration, at least understanding it from their perspective and seeing what they go through. And I'm probably going to mention a couple of times, guys, if you are subscribed, preferably those who are subscribed, please get in touch with me as soon as possible. All my details are in the description of this video. And essentially send me a screenshot showing you subscribed. Give me your handle that you subscribed with, because I can only see a roughly 271 or 280 subscribers of the 1,710 that there are now. So I'm thankful for a lot of people that have been a part of this, that have been in support of this, that have gone out of their way to promote it as well, and it may look like I am not interested in promoting it, and there's very good reasons for that. I don't want to end up with 80,000 people that subscribe by chance. I'm really looking to chase people who are true enthusiasts, true stakeholders of the sport, of motorsport. You know, to me, it's I want those individuals because it can add value to them. They can add value to this project. Everyone can benefit. It's all great having fluffed up numbers, 80,000 subscribers, 100,000 subscribers. You know, thankfully, I can say for the majority of my 1,700, I'm hopeful that they are in South Africa. I'm sure Google Stats will help me with that. I know some of them are expats. I know some of them personally. I know most of them are spread out around the world, and that wasn't the initial plan. But you know, none of this was planned. And I'll try and touch on that a little bit. I mean, this concept of the carnival worldwide is very much a portion of what was started in late 2007 and probably earlier, 2003 or 2006. All those points when I started getting more involved in the car community, just as a stakeholder, as a participant, as a spectator, in specifically the car community, I started to see problems. And if you know me, you know me very well. I don't have no solution if I see a problem. And that's kind of how this all started. I've been going to Killarney for years, probably since the 90s, when South Africa became more open. Not that I can say I've ever suffered under the old regime being as fair as I am. That always becomes a topic, and it's a shame. I consider myself an African, and that is pretty much attached to a certain demographic and a certain shade of one race that we all are, and that's a shame. So either way, long story short, I saw a problem, and part of me was like, well, how do I make a change? How can I make a change? And since then, it's only ever been me needing to change the life of one individual, and hopefully they pay it forward to the next. And once they are able to do that, I can tackle the next individual. And it's hard, especially in Cape Town. We've got this stigma, or rather the stereotype, and it's entrenched in us for some weird reason. Not just a certain demographic, not just my people from the Cape Flats, but it just seems to be Cape Town in general. We think we're too good for everyone. We like to be big fish in a little pond, And recently, I suppose people have been getting upset with me, and the fact that you're getting upset just means there's truth in my argument to some degree. It doesn't need to be 100% true, but part of it is true, and that's why you're getting upset, taking offense. So, today is pretty much just a test to try and figure out if this would work. I've done one Pitcast before, which I incorrectly made private because I was just looking to interact with those who are subscribed, in part as well to try and convince people to register their subscription with me. It's for free. It's just a thank you for saying, you know what, I see you for supporting this venture since its beginnings. I could go on and on for hours, and I think I have. If I must combine all of the voice notes I've sent across groups and to individuals about this sport, my sport, your sport. And I'm using that term very broadly because it could be any number of disciplines or one within motorsport. It could be soccer, it could be rugby, it could be cricket, athletics, netball, it could be baseball. I've been very particular in saying that we are a soccer, rugby, cricket, motorsport nation. And maybe that's offended some, but that's my reality. Athletics features when there's an Olympics or a massive meet that's on Supersport and maybe SABC, but the majority of airtime is soccer, cricket, rugby, motorsport, you know, supposedly in that order, I guess. And very really, this is mostly about guys register that you are subscribed to my channel, to my YouTube channel, because I've been doing wrong in the sense of avoiding the marketing of the channel in the hopes of rewarding everyone who's been here from the beginning and then moving forward. But I think, 2 years, 3 years nearly have gone by, and I've done this channel a disservice. I've done myself a disservice. I've done everyone that this should be benefiting a disservice by not being more aggressive in getting people to subscribe. I mean, numbers mean everything to Google, but I've gone through the stats, and I can say without a doubt the numbers are wrong. When I do polls, it doesn't match with what Google is telling me, and that number from Google should be 100% correct, but it's not. The majority of my subscriber base is male. Fair. But the majority of the response to certain polls are female. And they clearly have and do watch the content. Most notably, someone at Kilani that is like, I've watched your channel before. I don't even know if I'm subscribed. And they are. Thankfully, I can give them a VIP code. And what does that VIP code mean? Well, it's what I can offer you now. But it's the key to everything that you need down the line. And I'm going to touch on that a little bit, and maybe I'll touch on it some more with the next one. And spoiler alert, I actually wanted to do this tomorrow as a motorsport sermon. Because as I've said before, motorsport is my religion. The track is my church. My race cars are my weapons. And this platform has become a way for me to spread that word. I'm very much from my chat room is at a club or a bar or a social environment with my closest acquaintances and friends. And I'm thankful and happy to say there are very few of them, because those are all I need. There's a lot of friends and family and foes that are just out there to screw you over. They want to see you do well, but not better than them. I think I've come across that a lot recently, and it's sad. I mean, I didn't start this with the intention of stealing anyone's business or anyone's subscriber base, or started with the intention of replacing a content creator that covers drags or covers the car community. That's not my end goal. My end goal here is the sport. And if it benefits one, then that is not what is meant to happen. It's meant to benefit all. And not just in terms of motorsport. Not just as a spectator benefiting by, discount at the gate, or access to exclusive content, or the best angles, or this ASMR. I don't even know what that is. But just something that adds value, that keeps you connected to the sport. That is what this channel is about. Me going around the country and doing live streams was never meant to be. And I mean, to touch on that, and I probably have over the live streams and in a recent recording, I literally wanted to host an event during COVID. And it was a mission and a half to try and figure out how to go about this with the restrictions. And I thought to myself, well, let me do an event for the races. That's all I'm really after. Just giving the guys an opportunity to really race and compete, because I hadn't seen that since getting back into this in 2018, like properly back into this. All I heard and saw was, he took his duck, I don't recall that ever being a thing in 2007, 8 or 9. Or at least not a widespread thing, maybe amongst small groups. We actually raced. We didn't try to just outdo the next person. We actually competed. There was value in competition. And all I saw these days was just insane runs, solo runs, test runs, no racing. I mean, that's the very definition of drag, a test of acceleration. And then you have drag racing, a test of acceleration between two or more. And I mean, some of the stuff I have planned, yes, we're going to race 4 people side by side. And if you remember Need for Speed Underground 1, if I now have to pay royalties for mentioning that's where it was, I suppose Fast and Furious popularized that as well. But that's one of the concepts that I would really like to execute. Roll racing, time attacks, rallycross, gymkhana. I've been focusing on gymkhana and spinning and drifting this year because I don't know what's happening with drag racing. I can't even call it drag racing. You can call it timed runs. And that's no direct offense to anyone. And I certainly hope they don't take it as such. But I've noticed that attitude. Everyone just closing up like little clamshells. And you must understand, I don't suffer. I've never suffered. I'm not suffering now by not going to drags. But your selfishness as one of those individuals that can't see the value in collaborating, partnering, or even just sharing information, that really goes a long way to say or to show what it is you are about. And it's clearly not the sport. Now, if anyone takes offense to that, again, there must be some truth in what I'm saying. Maybe not 100%, but there's certainly truth in it. And when I ask for help, I don't really ask for help. I'm asking for your input, and I'm asking for you to be part of the opportunity. And when you don't, well, that's it. But what I've noticed is a lot of people just don't respond, or they say they're going to. Oh, I need to speak to this one, I'll get back to you, Dom, and then that never happens. We're grown-ups, people. I mean, I don't claim to be an angel. If I've said to someone, I'll get back to you, and I don't, at least I'm not doing it out of malice and ill intent. Because I do have a lot of things on my plate, contrary to what a lot of people believe. And that's their choice, that's their opinion. And I suppose, let me maybe add this in there. If you are trying to get hold of me, please continue to spam me. Send me a message every 5 seconds until I go, oh yeah, or tag me in the group if we share a group. I'm really not intentionally trying to ignore you, unless, of course, you've done me wrong. I mean, I don't need to go into that. I think I've gone into that on my status for years. But, how dare you think that you deserve a response from me if you've screwed me over somehow? I mean, come on. I only have so many cheeks to turn. Just one, actually. And I suppose I've given you a chance, haven't I? But yeah, there's a lot of people that are reckless with their time, and that just means they will be reckless with my time, and that's unfortunate because this whole thing isn't about me. It's about all of us. And there's a lot of people right now that I can distinctly and vividly remember their faces, their voices, that are at a disadvantage, I mean, people that are 100 k's away from a track but have never been to a live event. And I can think of a few, out in the central SA, near central SA, Colesberg, that have enjoyed my live streams, have never seen those vehicles live, been able to interact or be able to be in the moment. And I'm probably going to cross over a few things here from the last podcast that I did, the first one that I did. But it's that changed me forever. You know? I mean, interacting with all of these individuals wherever I stopped and taking the chance in asking, do you like motorsport? Do you like cars? Do you like bikes? And being prepared for the no's and they're not sure and the yeses. I don't have issues with interacting with anyone, I don't think, in this country. I consider myself an Mzansian. And I think that is evident in my entire career with who I interact with and how they remember me. Especially if they haven't done me wrong. Because obviously if they've done me wrong, they're going to remember the very ugly me. But, seeing how some of those people have viewed the lives or the replays or rewound live video and audio and relived the moment, that for me demonstrated the value that this added. So I didn't need to do a proof of concept. It's been done. YouTube's been around for how long? People have clearly done live streams, so it works. I needed to do a proof of value, which I think I've done over the last few years. And while I only have a handful of memories that are direct in the sense of me interacting with the people and hearing how it's affected them or how it's changed their lives or how it's given them something to look forward to, the insight, that is one of the key things that this channel was meant to provide. I mean, even this morning I was chatting to someone, Daglin. Hope you don't mind me mentioning your name. About people need to be educated. And to Paul, we were chatting this morning about, funding and how they do funding for their bike rallies and the perception by people of, hooligans, common. Now, I mean, we all share that perception as bikers and as four-wheel drive car racers. We're no different between 2 and 4-wheel drive vehicles. But among us, we fight as well for space, for time to race. We don't take the time to understand each other's, hurdles. That's a bit of a worry for me, because it means we need to start with us first, our perception of each other, before we even worry with the outsider's perception of us, to then try and fund the sport. And that's why, in my opinion, it's never grown, not to the lengths and to the heights that it should, because we have been sponsoring us, and I've been saying that for years. Us sponsoring us is not a long-term way, and more recently I can see it as a short-term way to get things going. But what's the long-term plan? I mean, last year I was very vocal on most of my live streams saying, it feels like we're virgins, man. We've been racing for years, we've been organizing for years, we've been doing these things for years, but we're making novice mistakes. Some of it could have been fatal. Some of it resulted in accidents, and some are going to disagree with me, but I mean, I've seen it, I've lived it, I've been through it. Otherwise, I would keep my mouth and observe. But people take offense, and that's really sad, because, the truth hurts. Hear it, take the criticism constructively, learn from it, and improve. It's quite simple. But people will rather close up like clamshells and, be like little girls and little boys and throw tantrums and hint at things. I don't work with hints. Tell me to my face I don't want to deal with you, then I know for sure. Let's communicate, man. Communicate a lot better. So I mean, this Pitcast or podcast is probably going to be this platform's way of trying to convey, get a message across share some insight. You know, I mean, do we really deserve drag racing in the state that it's in, where rules are written to benefit a few and alienate the majority? That's how I see it. I'm sure that's how many are seeing it this year. So is that why everyone's upset with me? You know, because we want to write the rules to suit us. That's not fair. If drag racing was about the fastest cars, then why call it drag racing at all? And I'm borrowing that from, South African National Drag Racing Association, which I would love to know where they are. Hopefully I can get hold of someone in the week and engage with them and discuss what the heck it is that's going on. I mean, we've got many hurdles to overcome. I've tabled a few. I think those are the most important ones. We are all in this sport together, so we say. But the minute it comes down to it, then we want to argue amongst ourselves. The bike guys want this, the car guys want this, and we just look past the needs of each other. I mean, I don't know how it goes around the country, and once I've raised a few things that were mentioned to me by certain individuals, it gave me more insight. It's like, okay, that kind of makes sense. Why would you want to be sitting in your leathers in a queue the whole day, sweating, uncomfortable, just to get a spot, when we know cars and bikes are different? And from what I've heard, from what's been said in drag meetings, it takes some changing of the system. Now, that's not a decent enough argument for me, because that's very vague. Are you just lazy to change the system? Or what is actually needed to change the system? Because that's one of the things that annoys me these days, is people don't want to work to achieve something. They just want it to happen, and it must be convenient for them. Now, it's a very difficult thing to try and find the sweet spot. If you've got 60 competitors, 10 bikers, 50 in vehicles, and then of that 50 it's still purpose-built drag cars and street cars, how do you give everyone the time and the space? Well, firstly, if everyone can be there on time for the track actually opening and there be a queue, that would be one start. Give us more time. If people can take the time to understand their vehicles better and not do burnouts for days and days and days, and focus on the race, that might make a huge difference. If we can maybe get back to a competition of some sort that actually adds value to an event. I mean, Formula One isn't won by the fastest laps. First, second, and third on that podium isn't decided by the person who was 17th, but damn, they did the fastest lap of the day. We're not measuring times, or we're not allocating wins by times. This is not a single stage event like a rally or a gymkhana or a timed drift obstacle course or something like that. It's a race, and that means everyone starts either on an equal footing, and in the case of a drag race, it's a lap, A to B. It just happens to be a straight line. We can change that. We can add turn 1 at Killarney and make the finish line between turn 1 and 2, and we see how many people get there first. But it's a race from A to B, and the first one to cross the line wins. Whether they did 24 seconds or whether they were standing on the line with their launch control for 7 and did 18 seconds on the run, the person that crossed the line first won. But okay, because you got the quickest time between that two, you claim first place. That makes no logical sense to me. That's not racing, and we're certainly not doing that. And it looks to me like it hasn't been that way for a long time. I don't know. I left the sport in 2009. I've been enjoying my cars on the road. Is that wrong of me? Maybe. And it's not about I don't want to deal with the politics. I dealt with the politics. All I got was bullshit. And I was like, well, I'm not in the business of wasting my time to deal with bullshit and repeat myself over and over. So cheers. And I must say, it was a bit disappointing to come back 15, 16 years later to have to hear a similar query about an issue that I was complaining about in 2009. And to actually deal with the problem of what was chosen instead of the issue that should have been dealt with in favor of supposedly improved facilities. And you know what? People need to just take this as it is. It's not intended maliciously, there's no ill intent here, but it is fact. And I've said it before, and I've said it in drag meetings, and I've said it to individuals heading up drag sections. Sort out your operations first. Then by all means, turn around and say, where were you guys when we opened the track? But don't be ill prepared and then want to blame races. And likewise, no stakeholders should be pointing the finger before attending to the issues that they bring to the table. This all of a sudden became a very serious discussion. But yeah, in short, just want you guys to please, if you are subscribed, send me a DM screenshot showing you subscribed. Give me your handle. And hopefully I can assign those VIP codes to all of you and move on and try and grow the channel. Thank you. Tune in soon. Sooner than you think.